Okay, are
I'm
we
out
on
of
for
breath.
real this time?
We're on take 12. Forgot my
Because
drink.
he has his whiskey. Okay, so what are we doing here? So as you know, may or may not know, I run Deluxe Entertainment. I'm around musicians all the time. We've been marketing the crap out of BTone pickups. And when I get a question of, hey, what is, I'm like, I don't know. Talk to James. So I have a list of questions and we're going to talk to James.
And what did you tell me before? It's a long list of questions and I can't ramble on or this will be a 16-hour
See me doing
thing.
this.
Okay.
Wrap it up.
Cut me off because I tend to just ramble.
Oh, I know. I am aware. Okay, so let's start with the absolute basics. What are pickups in 3 sentences or less?
Pickups in electric guitars and basses are what is the engine of the sound. Without pickups, when you strum, there would be nothing. There'd be no sound coming out of your amp.
So that kind of answers why are pickups important. Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, they're the engine of the guitar. And if your pickups are not good or not giving you what you want, then when it comes out of your guitar into your pedals and your amps, you're going to struggle.
Can you grab a guitar and actually point at a pickup? Because I often have to point at it, not for musicians, but for non-musicians, and I'm assuming there'll be a couple of those on here as well.
These are pickups.
Good.
And on a Strat, there's three. Every guitar has pickups.
There you go. Okay. So, who are pickups for and who are they not for?
Well, they are for somebody that cares about tone. Now, everybody cares about tone,
Yeah.
but they're not for somebody that's just starting out and just buys a beginner guitar because you're probably not at that point that pickups really matter to you. But if you're that player that is trying to get better sound and you're going and buying different guitars to get different sounds, you're buying different amps, different pedals, pickups can probably help you get there a lot faster than spending a lot of money on other gear.
So, if you like your guitar, you're really in love with your guitar, but you wish it sounded a little better.
Yeah. So some players tend to go to a music store and or buy a guitar and go, I love the way this feels, but
Mm.
it's not sounding right. And then they get rid of the guitar and they get something else. It could be either the way it's set up, it could be the electronics, the pickups. Um, some guys will spend $5,000 on a guitar and think that because you spent 5 grand, it sounds better. Other guys will buy really cheap guitars because it feels good in the hands. And then you can swap out your hardware and your electronics and get it technically sounding like a $5,000 guitar. It just comes down to what feels good and your electronics. You can make it work, whether
Mm.
that's a combination of pickups, pedals, amps. It all kind of works together.
Okay, so what would someone look for if they wanted to buy pickups but they really know nothing about them? Where do they start?
You start with what sounds are you after. So, as a blues guy, and I had somebody recently just say, I really like John Mayer's sound. I like the vintage blues kind of thing, but I like the modern John Mayer. So based on, somebody say figuring out what tones you're after, that can help you figure out what type of pickups you're
Hmm.
looking for, whether that's high output, gritty, dirty sounding stuff or a more open, bright, glassy vintage sound. And that's something I help guys with. They'll come with me and not know all the tech specs. So they'll just say, here's the kind of sound I'm after. Now, that pickup is not just going to out of the box get you that sound. 90% of it's in your hands. And then, the type of cables and pedals and amps you're using is all going to color that sound. But
Mm.
ultimately, if you like bright and glassy, you don't want to get an over compressed pickup because that's going to make everything difficult to get there in terms of amps and pedals.
Okay. So Some people say pickups don't really make a difference and that pickups do nothing. Why do people say that? And is it actually true?
Well, everybody hears things differently. So if you've ever recorded and then 10 years later recorded again, and you'll go, oh, I'm hearing things today that I never heard 5 years ago in my career, 10 years ago. My ears are better. So when guys say that, there's a few things. One, their ears are not as trained. So some people, you can make a 3 dB change in volume, and some people might not notice there's an increase or a decrease in volume. Well, 3 dBs
That's
is typically like an
oh,
audible difference. So if I was to turn the TV up, like you might not notice the volume went up
mm,
because I clicked it twice. But if I click it 4 times, you might hear the difference.
okay.
So they say 3 dBs is around like an audible difference. So some people might not hear the difference. If you don't hear the difference, then it's not for you. Or if you're using so much processing in a pedal board,
Mm,
maybe pedals don't matter. I don't know, or pickups don't matter because I don't use that many pedals. I've been winding since the early 90s and playing my pickups since then. So
right.
I get the dynamics in my playing. So if I need more grit, having a dynamic pickup, when you dig in, you're going to get that. So it's going to, yeah, it'll be,
Okay.
that's the big difference.
Okay. So explain to me how pickups actually work in really simple terms.
So in simple terms, a pickup is just magnets and wire. And I'll show you quick. So like this here is a telly bridge that doesn't have any wire on it. So there's magnets here, and then there's wire, and then you've got your lead wires. So when there's a magnetic field with the magnets, and your strings go through it. When you strum, disrupts that field, magnetic field, and just out pulses or whatever you want to say technically, the tone. And there's all the scientific stuff involved in terms of what resonant frequency that's going to output at, depending on all these variables of the pickup, which you don't need to know. That will determine whether or not you're getting, say, on a bass, a 900 hertz frequency, or on a guitar, a 2, 3, 4, 5K frequency. And that's the tone you'll hear in terms of saying that pickup's really bright or that pickup's really mid range sounding or really boomy, compressed.
Mm.
That's where all that comes from.
Okay. So I have questions on different types. So what is a single coil pickup?
This is a single coil pickup. Stratocasters that I showed are single coils. So these two here are Stratocaster single coils.
Okay. Versus what's a P90?
A P90 is right here on my floor.
Convenient.
It's yeah, how convenient. We're in a pickup building shop. A P90 is a single coil as well, but the geometry of it is different. So you can see here how it's like short and fat versus tall and narrow, and that geometry alone changes the sound because of how it affects inductance and capacitance.
Do those go into different guitars?
Typically, yes. Single coils like this are known for Stratocaster styles. These are like Les Paul Juniors, but you can put them in anything. I've seen
Oh, okay.
P90s in Strats. It just depends on,
What the person's chasing?
yeah, and how you route the guitar, how you build the guitar. But they
Okay.
can essentially go in anything.
What's a humbucker? Heard you say that word.
Yes. So a humbucker is basically two single coils, but again, different geometry. And let me see, I probably have something on the floor here. Yeah. So a humbucker would be two coils
Oh,
like this. So you would have slugs and screws, and they go side by side.
and that makes one?
That makes
Or is that still
that
considered two?
well, it makes one. So this is a humbucker here. So you can see that it's got
Oh, okay.
the two single coils.
Huh.
So when you play a Strat, you have a 5-way switch. So when you're playing the bridge in the middle, you're playing both pickups. That's a humbucker because you're getting the reverse wind, reverse polarity. Humbucker is just doing that in one pickup.
Hmm.
So this guitar here has humbuckers in it. So
Oh, that looks cool.
there's 4 single coils. That's 2 single coils. 2 single coils.
Hmm. Interesting. Are they easy to install, and should players do it themselves, or should they hire someone to do it?
They are easy to install, unless you don't own a soldering iron and you've never done that before. But it's not hard to learn. There's so much out there on YouTube.
Mm,
And at some point, I might do a video about that.
I bet he
But
does.
it's, yeah, it's pretty simple to solder them in. If you have an existing guitar and you take your pick guard off, um, you're going to see a ground wire and a hot wire, and you just replace them
Hmm.
with that. It is pretty simple. Now you can get cold solder joints, and we could go down a whole podcast about that. But don't get fearful of solder joints. It takes a lot to screw that up. But as long as the connection is good, not wiggly and not a cold joint, you'll be fine. So you could do it, and you can buy solder for $5 and a cheap soldering iron as long as it's the right wattage for 20 or $30, and you could do your pickups yourself. It is easy to do if you've never done it. Just watch some YouTube videos. It's not difficult.
Nice. Okay. What is the difference between factory pickups and boutique pickups? Yours, of course, being boutique.
Um, the biggest difference, like, is mass production. So obviously factories mass produce pickups, thousands and thousands. Where boutique, we do much smaller volume, and we do it all by hand. And the noticeable difference you're going to hear as a player is dynamics. So factory pickups, they're designed to be safe and they're compressed. So when you pick lightly or you dig in, you're kind of going to get like a compressed output. So you're not going to get a lot of dynamics. So what guys typically tell me when they get a set of pickups is, oh wow, they're so dynamic. Like if I hit hard, it reacts different than if I'm picking lightly.
See that.
That's the dynamics of it, right? It might be clean when you play light. You might get a bit of grit when you dig into it. Therefore, how you deal with your pedals and your amps is different. So a lot of factory pickup players might be used to, oh, it's solo time, let me hit that gain boost, get some dirt in there, because you're making everything downstream make up for like a monotone compressed pickup. No matter how hard you hit it or how you attack it, you're pretty much going to get the same thing out. Now that's not bad. Nothing
Mm-hmm.
wrong with that. But for players that play rock, classic rock, blues, country, genres that have dynamics, you'll notice a world of difference playing a boutique pickup over factory. And regardless of a BTone factory or any other boutique company, when they hand make them, you're going to get dynamics.
Well, it makes me think, actually, when you say that, it makes me think of when you made them for Ricky and you needed to tweak it just a little bit. He just wanted, it was great. He just wanted just that little tiny tweak. You won't get that in factory.
No, and what Dee's speaking to there is, with Ricky, we have the B61 honks. Those are,
Love
and
that
we're
name.
calling it a honk because Ricky was like, I
Wanted to
want that.
honk.
I want that P bass honk 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 sound, right? And when I talk, and I'm not a bass player, that's why for the bass pickups, I go to established bass players and say, let's voice a set of pickups, because I could wind anything to spec, but that just passes a bench test. The real test is getting on stage and going, does it pass the player test?
Mhm.
Because specs only mean so much, right? Because a spec can say one thing, but my ears will hear something else. And so with Ricky, he wanted that honk. So he loved the fact that there was the dynamics in there compared to what he was playing.
Mhm.
And it had a higher resonant frequency. So he had to work his amp harder. And when I say work your amp harder, I mean he had to like turn his mids way up and the bass way down so that he could hit that like 1K 800, whatever, 700 to 1000 hertz frequency where that honk honk sound was for his bass when he's bop, 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 bop on the bass. And I had wound a set roughly around 900 hertz. And he liked that and didn't have to work his amp as hard. But I felt he was still working it harder than we necessarily needed to. So I said, if you really want that honk for what your gear you're playing, I'll tweak some stuff so that I can bring that resonant frequency down, like away from 1K towards 800. And then you don't have to turn your knob up on your amp as much. And that's what I mean about working your gear as hard.
You won't get that with factory.
And you won't. That's what you get when you order a
B-
custom pickup or
BTone.
B-tone. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So switching gears a little bit, let's focus there. What is B-tone and how did it get started?
So two ways. One, like I started winding pickups in 94 because out of necessity. Um, just not fine.
Broke kid.
I was a broke kid. I had guitars stolen. My parents were fighting to get them back. So the guitar I play today is a bit of a hybrid. And I was winding pickups for two reasons. One, I couldn't afford to buy anything at the time that was boutique off the shelf because it's super expensive. And I wasn't getting what I wanted out of factory pickups. And I didn't have the money to go buy a million different amps and a million different pedals to try and get there. So I wound and that worked out for me. And my dad was a big part of getting me into music. And we tried to go to market around 2009, 2010. He died, life got in the way. Now is the time to kind of go to market, which I've done for the last year, making it more publicly visible. And B Tone just stands for Buddy's Tone. That was my dad's name.
Nice. Okay. So I think that answers the what problems were you trying to solve when you began building pickups, but what actually makes B-tone different from other pickup builders? What differentiates
Um, yeah, that's a double-edged sword, I
you?
think, now that I think about it. Um, I guess what makes it different is one, I've had some comments on social media in terms of um, the types of demo videos that I have. So my position for that is to be honest with what it is. Now, I've got 6 albums out. I've got countless award nominations. I know the studio game as well as the next guy would. I don't want to record what these pickups sound like in a guitar and color that in a DAW because it's not a true representation to the person that's watching on the other side. Like anybody can do that, and I could have factory pickups in there and tell you there's something else and color the shit out of it in a DAW, and people go, "Wow, that sounds great. I want to buy those." Where want to be a lot more honest and go, "Here's what it is. It's recorded on a phone. It's recorded through a really simple signal chain. There's not a lot of post processing. It is what it is." And the videos come from real players that are buying B-tone pickups and using them. And they might not be, the John Mayers and the Stevie Ray Vaughns of the world, but they're real players. And they're out there in the trenches playing clubs on the weekends and gigging, and music's subjective. And to me, that gives an honest interpretation of what you're going to get when you get it. Not like, oh, this guy's an amazing player. Well, buying set of pickups ain't going to make you sound like an amazing player because
Mm.
if BB King handed me his guitar right after he played his hit song Thrill Is Gone, I ain't going to sound like BB King when I play it. And everything's the same, right? So 90% of it's your hands.
So why do you offer a lifetime warranty?
I do. No, I'm just kidding. Because pickups should last a lifetime, and I've had my pickups that I wound in '94 in my guitar since '94, and that feels like a lifetime. That's like 30 plus years, and there's no reason that
Insert your old comment here.
yeah, it's my old comment. I'm aging myself here. But, you know, in terms of, like, if there's a factory defect, because sometimes things can go wrong, you're hand winding stuff and, maybe a coil breaks or something happens in shipping or, whatever it might be, I stand behind it, and I want whoever buys it to make sure that, they've got pickups for life because 99.999% of the time, a guy's gonna get pickups, he's gonna install them in his guitar, and unless he wants to change the tone and remove them, they're gonna work forever,
Mm.
right? And I spend the time to do, like nitro dip, like Fender did in the early days. During some of the CBS era, they didn't nitro dip, and now, like, I replaced a '74 Strat pickup because it just went dead, probably because the coil rattled inside, shorted out against the magnet. Because if there's not, the nitro is to insulate the magnet from the wire. So just small little details like that that might get overlooked, and a factory not care because
Mm.
they sold you that pickup 10 years ago.
Right. Okay, so tell me about the Tone Vault swap program, what it is, why you created it, and how does it work for players?
Yeah, so that's a program of a lot of guys get caught up in the specs. So, they might not know if they want one model over another because they could be similar and everything sounds different to everybody else. So the tone vault is basically if you buy a set of B-tone pickups and your vibe changes or you just realize like, oh, I didn't want to get the legacies, I should have got the B10s, you
Mm.
know, okay, send them back and I'll send you a set of B10s in replacement. Like there's no cost to that. If you're an original B-tone purchaser, you can do that. There's a program for that. Now, there is the cost to shipping things back and forth that would be on the customer, but we can't get around what
That's fair.
shipping carriers are going to charge. But I know in situations like I've had guys buy and go, "Oh, I love these pickups," and guys local where I can just swap them out for them. They say, "Oh, we'll swap them out," and then next thing you know, they're buying another guitar to just put another set in because nobody needs five guitars that all sound the same. We all get five guitars because we tell our wives they do something
I've
different,
seen that on
right? Yeah,
Facebook.
you've
This
seen
one
that.
goes, "Loo-loo-loo," and
And
this
this one
one
goes
goes.
"Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo," right? Yeah. No, for sure, right? Because and I said that to Doug. I said, "You don't need two guitars that sound exactly the same.
Yeah.
You want guitars that sound different." But yeah, the tone vault is for that. But to be honest with you, nobody uses it because people like it, and then they go, "Well, actually, I just want to get another set because I like these. I don't not like them." But no one thing is going to do everything.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so what kind of feedback do you hear most often from players? Like what's the top 3 comments that you hear repeatedly?
The top comment is the dynamics. They're
Okay.
especially if they're used to factory pickups. Their biggest like, whoa, I love these, but I got to get used to the dynamics of them.
Mm.
Um, and you're talking feedback in terms of guys that have got the pickups
Yep.
and play them.
Yep.
You usually like it's dynamics or it's I got this other guitar. What can you do for
Nice.
what can you do for
Repeat
that guitar?
business. That's the biggest
Yeah.
compliment of all,
Yeah. No,
frankly.
it is. And I do custom stuff. If
Yeah.
somebody wants something that's not, like a set on the site, and there's lots coming down the pipe. I had a guy email the other day about some bass I'd never even heard of, and I'm not a bass player, so I had to look it up. And actually, I don't have the components to do that, but absolutely could wind it. So I don't know, maybe send me a broken pickup and we just rewind it.
Oh, that's a
But
good idea.
yeah, because if I have the components, I can do it,
Yeah.
right? It's just a matter of
Are
doing
there
it.
any player stories that really stand out for you?
Players' stories.
It's a trick
Yeah,
question.
that's a total to God. Yeah, you're putting me. Hold on, let me.
Think, think, think.
Yeah.
Whiskey will make the brain work
Hmm.
better, lubricate the thought
Yeah.
process.
Well, I think the players that like um that feel the dynamics that I installed a set, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, my guitar came to life. I'm
Oh,
playing it better.
that's cool.
It feels set up better, and it's like, well, there's no setup different. It's just when something's monotone, it's kind of boring, and when you open up these dynamics, you I see guys go, they start to play better, because I've always said 90% is in your hands. I've already said that in this video, and you can't get to just be natural of your 90% if you're struggling with that 10% of gear. So
Yeah.
we've all been there where you've gone on stage and borrowed someone's guitar and you're like, oh man, this is just not for me, and you're struggling with the instrument, that you're not performing as you could, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you get a guitar that feels good, and then you get pickups installed that open everything up, and you're like, wow, my amp just came to life and sounds way better than it's ever sound, because now you're pushing dynamic frequencies to it. um, I've just seen guys play better than they've ever played, because they feel their tone, therefore they're just relaxed, and now I can
Nice.
focus on playing, not like, oh, I need more treble, I need more bass, I can't hear myself.
Mm. What's the farthest away you've shipped a B-tone?
uh, I would have to say Austria. Primarily everything's going to Canada and the US, and I'm here in Canada, so Austria at this point was
That's cool.
the furthest place. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. How can a player tell if boutique pickups are right for them?
um
Buy
if
them. Buy them and try them.
Yeah,
I'll
buy
answer that. Buy them and try
buy
them.
them and try them. I think if you're a player that values your amp, and you've invested in a good amp, and you've invested in pedals, and you're in that constant search for better tone, and you're just playing something that's factory, even if it's like, I've had guys swap out, $5,000 American Standard Fender Special, whatever you want to call them. I'm not a gearhead in that sense. That supposedly have like Fat 50 pickups or whatever you call them. I don't really want to name anything, but they've taken these like popular brand ones that aren't necessarily boutique, because they're on the verge of like being commercially available, and they're supposed to be sought after pickups, and they've taken those out, put mine in, and go, my guitar sounds like 10 times better. But again, that would be any boutique. So if you value your tone, boutique will open up a world of difference for you.
So, what are you currently working on?
um a few things.
Everything.
Everything.
All the
Yeah, like
things.
everything's all at the same time. um the humbuckers, so these are coming, the humbuckers and the P90s. They're on the BTone .com right now. They're just kind of back ordered because I'm waiting for parts. So the difference with single coils like Tellys and Strats, and the P bass and the jazz basses I'm working on, and the stacked single coil P bass style, that can all be done with what we call vulcanized fiber, and I make that from sheets myself. So I can do everything literally from the ground up. When it comes to P90s, humbuckers, I have to order quality components and get those from a variety of different sources. So once those come, then I'm going to go heavy on the humbuckers and the P90s. I'm working also on a split coil Strat. So my main Strat, I have a dummy coil, which gives me the humbucker effect, 60 cycle hum. For those of you that know it, a lot of people hate it, but that's, if you get rid of it, you lose the single coil sound, which is different than the humbucker sound. Which Gibson players, they sound more mid range, lower than single coils, but we can go down a rabbit hole on that. Um, so yeah, I'm working on a lot of those things. I'm working on some artist licensing stuff. So Russell Jackson, he's coming in the next couple months, as you know,
Hmm.
doing some live shows with him and another guy out of Paris that's coming down. So we're going to voice a set of pickups. And when I say voice, I mean we're going to get these things so that Russell is happy with them and getting the tone he wants. And then, just working on a licensing deal with him. I did that with Ricky because I'm not a bass player. So the way to bring authentic bass pickups to market is to do it with guys that, you know, have shared thousands of stages around the world. And then, yeah, just some conversations behind the scenes with some, maybe more higher profile, even though it doesn't get much higher profile than playing with BB. But these are more front people in terms of maybe doing some telly or strat stuff. So yeah, there's lots in the works, and I'm always looking for more things to do.
What's your long-term goal for this?
My long term goal is to get a larger reach, get hopefully get out there on the market and be that more household name like
Mm.
some of the other boutique companies that have been around since the late 80s early 90s when these custom style boutique pickups really started hitting the market.
Tell them about your giveaways.
Yeah, every month I do giveaways. TheBTone.com/giveaway. I'm actually giving this one away. This is my kind of prototype. It's not the prettiest looking humbucker, but it works. So I'm going to just give this away because at this point I have no use for it. So rather than just throw it in the garbage, I'll let someone throw it in their guitar. But
Nice.
yeah, so every month I've been giving away pickups. I gave away the very first set of the Tele B43 Juice, which were a little different. They had some different magnets than what I'm actually doing. But yeah, every month I give something away to somebody, and yeah.
Okay. So, last question. If viewers were to take one thing from this conversation, what would it be?
Buy my pickups.
That's
No,
pretty much it. That was my thought. That was totally my
no,
thought.
I just
But that's the
I'm kidding.
marketing in
No,
me.
yeah, no. So, sign up to my email list because it's just a lot of educational stuff. Because sometimes some of the emails will talk about pickup height because you might feel like you need a boutique set and whatever you have in your guitar now isn't giving you what you need. But there are some things you can do in terms of pickup heights and things like that might determine that you don't need to go buy pickups, right? So there's lots of market out there, but the takeaway is just sharing ideas with people, and we all fight for better tones. So I'm open to any ideas people even have.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's
So are we
it.
done? We're done. Look at that. It's only like 35 minutes.
Wow, I thought you'd talk way more than
Cut me off though, right?
that.
Should we keep talking?
About what?
I don't know. Exactly.
Mm.
Anyways, thebtone.com.
Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, coming to a show near you.
Yeah. Okay, bye.